it all starts with who you are and what your needs are. So maybe we should just start off by saying that really most of the Bibles on the market, most of the translations on the market, especially in English, are trustworthy and good and have a purpose. And so I'm not going to come out at any point and say this is the Bible everybody should have. In fact, I'm quite against people who do say that, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those people who do say that. So maybe just start off with I got some show and tell for those people who are watching the video on YouTube. But the Bible was written, the Old Testament was written in Hebrew and a few passages in Aramaic, which is very similar to Hebrew. And so this is a Bible that I'm holding here that has the Hebrew and the Greek together. The New Testament was written in Greek. What I like about this is Genesis starts at the back because Hebrew is written, right to left, and then Matthew starts here at the front. So this is the original, you could say. Using textual sciences and stuff, we come up with what we think the actual writers wrote in Greek and Hebrew. And so somebody in your church should know those languages, and it's usually going to be the pastor, right? But then people translated that, and even the Hebrew, when there was the Hellenization of the Jews, and Alexander the Great took over, the known world, including the Hebrew-speaking world, he introduced Greek. And so what I'm holding here is the New Testament in Greek and the Old Testament in Greek, sometimes called the LXX, which stands for 70, or sometimes it's called the Septuagint. Do you know why it's called the Septuagint or the 70?
Because of the 70 that translated it,
yeah,
correct?
Exactly. There were 70 Jewish men who translated actually just the Torah, the first 5 books, but the whole Greek Old Testament is known loosely as the Septuagint or Septuagint. And what's very interesting is when Jesus quotes the Bible, he sometimes decides to quote the LXX. So he was okay with translations, even of the Hebrew, which is, I don't know, I find that kind of interesting. Then over the years, they started translating it into other languages. Tyndale and Hus and Martin Luther translated into German. And so now we have just lots and lots of English translations. What do you think of how many there are? We're kind of spoiled for choice, but that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I'm grateful for how many Bible translations we have. And there are certain downsides to that, and we'll get into some of it. But when you think about the sheer amount of Bible that we have access to, we can get different translations. Some are word for word, some are thought for thought. We can get translations that are more modern English, that are older English.